Cohasset Township regular monthly meeting, November 25th, 2014. Testing.
All right, I'll call this meeting to order at 7:02 p.m. Adequate notice of this meeting has been given to the Express Times and Star Gazette, satisfying the Open Publics Meeting Act. If we could please stand for a silent prayer and flag salute. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Do we have, Wanda, are we able to take these minutes? Okay. Is there a motion for that?
To what?
To take the minutes of the October 7th meeting and the October 21st meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Becker,
Yes.
Slack,
Yes.
Van Loo, Vangelli,
Yes.
Kern.
Yes. Is there a motion to pay the bills presented in proper form, signed by the director of each department and approved by the majority of the members listed on the bill list?
I just had a question. The Finelli Consulting Engineers, about $5,000. There's about 4 different bills totaling $5,000. It says Land Use Board. What's that for? Anybody know?
I don't. What's the bill number?
I believe so.
I can look for you, right?
It says app reviews.
A couple different things. There was, I think, Dr. Hernandez was on there. Some other things. What line are you at? First page.
Yeah. There's one developer escrow reviews.
Okay. Down here at the bottom.
2 September meetings. And then in November 5th and 21st.
Let me go through. I'll have to get back to
Okay.
Want to hold that one, Frank?
Yeah, probably just till the end of the meeting, maybe.
Okay.
And I think that was it.
Okay, let's
Thank you.
let's just hold off the bills until the end of the meeting. We'll just big reminder not to forget on that one.
Okay.
Mr. Rossi, code enforcement update on abandoned vacant properties, sir.
Good evening, everyone. Always a pleasure to be here. Thank you for hearing me. As you know, not only in Cohasset Township, but not only in New Jersey, throughout this country, there has been an epidemic of abandoned houses. People just walk away from them. People lose their jobs. People bite off more than chews, one reason and another one. So the question is how do we handle these abandoned properties? Well, part of the problem we have is one of the streets that we have abandoned property. I reached out to the bank, and the bank was in Chicago. And so finally they wrote back to me and they said, oh, Chicago, we no longer do this. Our Maryland product does it. Well, who in Maryland? Do we have a people's name? And I haven't got a response there. And Kevin isn't here now, but I believe what the state of New Jersey came out with a law that now says if the township passes an ordinance that says the creditors have to give us a New Jersey agent. So there's someone in New Jersey that I can do with, a real live person and not a machine. And that's why I'm here tonight. We have to pass ordinance. One of the things I wanted to do is some of these houses I want to go out and I want to put an order to vacate on there and keep a list of these, because mainly what we want is for them to maintain their property. If a tree falls on the property and smashes the shed up, you want to get in touch with these people. You got to cut the tree up. You got to get rid of it and get the shed there. So one of the things that I have, and you probably heard of it, is I'm a big fan of White at the Wheel. Washington Borough made a real nice resolution. I read through it. I printed it out if anybody wants it. About one of the things they want to do is find out who the creditors is. That's a big problem too. It's not that real easy to do that, but there's some research we can do. Rutgers has a facility where you can get in touch with them. They'll help you. Find out who these creditors are. Find out who the person is and reach out to them and say that you have to maintain it. You're the person in charge. I have to maintain these properties. And I believe the law says that if they don't do that, it's a $2,500 fine. So tonight I'm requesting that we, Cohasset Township, start this ordinance to have the creditors find out who the New Jersey agent is.
Do you have the sample ordinance right there?
Yes, I do.
I'll give that to Kevin. I believe it's very standard as far as what this is, so you're right. I think he'll be able to draft this no problem.
Is it an ordinance, Joe, or a resolution?
Ordinance.
It is?
Yep. Yeah, it's an ordinance. And Joe, just procedurally speaking, if we do move forward with this, we'd introduce next week, we have a meeting, and then I think we have a second one, so it would have to be 2 meetings it takes for a reading.
Same year, right?
Yeah, so we'd have to do it in December or wait till January. Yeah, that's the only way it could be. We couldn't do December, January. So if it helps you, do your job, I'm sure, this council will take it under consideration and, anything to help you perform your duties.
Okay.
So, thank you. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Rossi in reference to this ordinance? All right, Joe. Thank you. Actually, if you could be available for the public hearing on it, I think that would be beneficial too.
Not a problem.
Just walk down the hall.
Not a problem.
Thank you, Joe.
Yes, sir.
Uh,
Yes, sir. Al has a question. Yes, sir, Sal.
What about these people with all kind of, I call it debris, but to them, it must be worth something in front of their home, alongside of their home. I think it's time for us to clean up these people.
To Sal's point, we have, myself and the back end of the township have got some of it cleaned up. We have brought some people to court. Some of the people, Sal, you just can't find them. But the ones that we have found, I think, for the most part, I think 90% of the people are very cooperative, and the other people that aren't cooperative, I have brought them to court, and the judge, very stern, tells them to clean up their mess.
Is it true that the Chambers property was sold now, and now we can expect that to get cleaned?
As of Monday, Mr. Santini is the owner of the Chambers property.
And we can expect it to get cleaned up?
I'd be very surprised if he doesn't do something. Like I said, we're going to give him some time, let all the paperwork go over there. Okay, if anybody knows him personally, it'd be nice to reach out to him and say, what are these plans on doing with that?
Why don't, we could write them a letter.
Yeah. That's right.
Right.
Congratulations on your new purchase. Clean it up.
One-page letter, I like that. They're my favorites.
I don't think that would hurt.
Has he been in to see you at all or no?
No, I've been dealing with the Chambers brothers and sister.
Okay. Well, maybe when everything is officially finalized, I think Frank's right. A good reach out, I don't think wouldn't be a bad idea. And he's
Okay.
local, so he's very responsive, I think.
I'll write a nice letter.
Down on 627, we have some homes with holes. You could drive a Mack truck.
Yes,
I'm telling you, it's horrible.
it is. That's why we need to pass this ordinance and get.
Like 610,
Yes, sir. I'm well aware of them.
because I'm, making sure the grass is cut, the hedges are trimmed and so forth. But I'm afraid to look into a window because they'll get you for peeping Tom. Nobody lives here, but I don't think I,
Yeah.
it's bad today.
Anything else, Mr. Mayor?
Anyone else have anything else for Mr. Rossi?
No, but if anybody needs a Santa Claus, Mr. Rossi is available.
Thank you, Joe.
Oh, boy,
Seriously.
I'm looking for parts for my Santa Claus suit.
All right, public comment pertaining to agenda items. Any public comment on agenda items? Yes, sir.
Enrique Hernandez, 301 River Road. The agenda item I'm commenting on is the motion to pay the bills. And Frank, you asked a question as to the Finelli Consulting. We just reviewed that. Elaine sent me a breakdown of that. And for our application, Finelli has charged approximately $4,000. We've put into the developer escrow account $4,200 at this point.
Yeah, Dave, in the meantime, Dave filled me in on what, it was various charges, including Mr. Hernandez, or Dr. Hernandez. So I think we can pay the bills now.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Any other public comment on agenda items? Seeing none, we'll move on. Kevin will be running late.
Are we going to go back
When
to
it
the bill?
goes,
Yeah, let's pay the bill, yeah. Motion to pay the bills.
Now that we,
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, Becker?
Yes.
Black,
Yes.
Van Loo? Are all our bills paid? I know, are signed, I know mine are, so I would vote yes for me.
Mine are all signed.
Okay. Frangeli
Yes.
and Kern.
Yes. Okay, thank you. All right, Gwen, for engineers report?
Could I wait till Kevin's here? He and I have discussed both of the items, but I'm going to.
Yeah, that's fine, yeah, that's fine.
Probably be better if he was here.
Yeah. Absolutely fine.
Probably things on his report as well.
Okay, then we'll move on to Township Council reports, and we'll move with Frank.
Okay, a few things. One, you may have noticed in the paper that there was an article about CFO being hired by Lopakong. I think the paper was premature. I haven't been involved in any negotiations on shared services with the CFO, and I think the paper implied that this was further along than it is, and that's about all I have to say about that right now.
So we're nowhere near what the paper says then.
No, not that I'm aware of. I don't believe we are. I think, I don't want to talk about anything.
This system we have right now, it seems to be working.
It is for us.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I think Lorraine's doing a wonderful job, and I would like to see it continue the way it is, because I think you're right. I think it's doing great. So I just don't. All I'm saying is it ain't over till it's over, and the paper got ahead of itself, I think, and as did perhaps Lopakong. A few other things. The budget is going to be very difficult this coming year. You've probably seen that, and I always say that, but it's always true. The next year, the red light cameras, there's no will to extend them, unfortunately, even though we had a referendum in which 56% of the people were for it. It's not happening. It's not being extended. So that's a significant amount of money that we won't have for our budget next year. And so it's going to be difficult budget. We've already had some meetings with different departments on what they've requested in terms of budgets for 2015, and we're going to have to, look at those closely, those budget numbers closely, and see what we can do. I found it interesting that the red light cameras passed by 56%, but we're not going to have them. The EAI referendum, which I'm proud that we put on a referendum passed by 17 votes. If 9 people changed their vote, we wouldn't have, the EAI referendum would not have passed. So, and it may be a moot issue anyway if we don't have the money. I mean, and I think money is going to be hard to come by in 2015.
Frank,
Yes.
we're going to have to worry about the school tuition too. Phillipsburg is going to raise it $1,000 per pupil.
I know. I wrote a letter to the editor of that effect.
Yeah, but everybody blames us.
Well, that's because the bill comes from us.
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, I think, you know, as we've always said, you know, we can control what we can control, and what we can't attend the school board meetings, which several people here have. So, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, and that's why we put the big pie chart on our township website that says 48% of our taxes go to the school and only 28% go to the town, to the municipal budget, and the rest go to the county. So I agree with you. Yeah. Still. And I think, the time clock. I didn't attend the Atlantic City meeting this year, but Mayor Kern, Mary, and Lorraine all went. And thank you, Mary, for bringing home a brochure on the another vendor for the time clock. We had one that we're still waiting on references for, so I'm not getting a cozy feeling about them. But Mary spoke to another vendor. Lorraine spoke to that vendor about references, and Mary got contact with yet another vendor. So it's been slow, but it's still moving along. The Historic Commission, I spoke with Michael Margulies. I missed the last meeting. I had another obligation, but I spoke with Michael Margulies today. And he filled me in a little bit about what's happening. He told me he had met with Joe about these abandoned buildings and stuff like that. He was just wanting to be sensitive to, if they're historic, don't tear them down right away. The Regalsville Historic District application is being worked. The current view is that we're unlikely to get it through unless we combine it with the Pennsylvania Regalsville Historic District. Already is a historic district there, and sort of just make it a big Regalsville district, which includes the New Jersey part and the Pennsylvania part. So I think that's the avenue they're going to pursue. And they're doing the clerk of Kilcommons is doing the application now. They had hired somebody else that I don't think we paid for. I think the PHHC paid for that application, but she didn't do a very good job, so we got a new person working on it, and she seems to be doing a very good job on it. But we are paying for this new person. Only $15 an hour, which is pretty good for documentation of a historic district. And that's all I had.
Okay, thank you, Frank. Dave?
I don't have a whole lot, Mayor. Nothing new on the DPW from our last meeting. Land use, there was no meeting yesterday. I believe we are scheduled to have our next meeting, correct, Wanda? Is that so?
The next meeting is December 9th.
Okay, December 9th for next land use meeting. Our environmental commission met on Monday. Not a whole lot new going on there. There was a lot of discussion on the environmental stewardship awards that we're working on, and also on the community garden. Dr. Hernandez, is there anything I'm overlooking? There was pretty mild meeting. It was well attended.
I just recall there was a comment about reconstituting the Ag Advisory Board.
Yes, that's correct. That was something that the mayor had talked to me about briefly. In order to maintain our pig grants,
Yep.
correct?
Yep.
We need to maintain a ag advisory board within the township. And the mayor and I discussed about reactivating that and having biannual meetings just to maintain the board.
Just to maintain it, yeah, exactly.
Other than that, I did put a phone call into Jeff this afternoon to make sure we were ready for the upcoming storm. I got no response, and that was how I left it. You know, unless you have problems, I'll assume we're ready. So I'm assuming
No news is good news.
No news is good news,
They've been
right?
working hard.
Yep. So hopefully we're prepared. I know our salt store was pretty well stocked, so we'll wait and see what tomorrow brings forth.
That's all we can do.
Yeah, that's all we can do. That's correct. I'll field any calls from any residents about snow removal and such problems as they arise.
So we'll put that up on the town website called
Hey.
Slack.
It's no problem. I'll take any calls.
No, but really, I'd say it's, even last year, it was very few and far between the complaints
I
that
took
we
a
got.
few, and a few of them were residents disturbed about alleys not getting plowed out. And at the time, we were still under a snow emergency, and nobody was supposed to be on the roads. And once people realized how bad things were, they weren't quite as upset, about their alley not getting plowed out,
Exactly.
right away. So we'll wait and see. But that's about all I have, Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
Dave, on the land use board, I know in our last meeting, we decided to put out for RFP professional services. And I know, speaking with what Kevin said, is that we can't require them to.
Correct.
But do you know if there's any?
I can take back to land use when we meet again, that, we'd like to see that put out for RFP and, see what the board and the chair, fancies.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, no problem, Frank. I had the same thought in mind personally, but try to keep everybody honest.
And Dave, just so you are aware, in speaking with Kevin, if the meeting on the 9th is ample time to do that in time for reorg.
Okay.
So there's no time constraint issue.
That can't be the excuse that there's no
No.
time constraint.
Nope.
We are still good.
Nope. If you meet on the 9th.
Right, yeah.
I also had another question about the Bob Haney application, or I saw in our correspondence, we had a letter from his lawyer that sort of like throwing it into the township council's court. Is that true? I mean, have we spoken with Kevin about it? Does he agree with that position, or?
I can't really speak. I had to abstain from that whole application.
I want to send us both a copy of that today, but I got it after I talked to Kevin. So,
That's in reference to the street, right? Is Kevin coming?
Regarding
Yeah, he'll be there, yeah.
Mark's
Okay.
gonna be here.
All right, then we can defer that till he gets here. Thank you.
All right, Mary?
Okay, well, one of the fun things I did last week was go down to the League of Municipalities conference. There was no cost to the township because Harris contacted me. That's really nice. But a fun thing was to attend the New Jersey Society of Municipal Engineers luncheon because our own Gwen Steckel received the first place award from them for the replacement of a bridge 2120 MR1 and the River Road retaining wall. And for that project, she received the award. And it was nice to meet your two buddies who kind of assist you with permits and things like that.
Right, yeah, they actually do the nitty-gritty of it.
Yeah, so that was really nice to meet them.
Be that effective on the computer, but
Yeah,
I
so
wanted to make sure that they got it.
the picture of the group is on our website. And then I told Gwen, next meeting, she's going to actually they have to have everybody who received an award, a second place or third place or whatever, that they had like a collage I guess, pretty much, of what the project was. So I thought that would be nice if she brought that in so that the public could see also what they had done. So that
Good
was,
job.
that was a lot of fun.
Thank
That was really neat. I felt very important walking up with her when she got her award. And then our police department has been busy too. They received 565 calls for service and issued 208 traffic summonses, and they did make 25 arrests. The CI unit opened 25 new cases, and they did investigate 28 motor vehicle accidents, and any of them in our happy intersections.
2 days ago, 22 and 122.
Okay. And no fatalities, though.
No.
All right, the department completed their semi-annual MATS training, and the training included the use of force, pursuit driving, and domestic violence. Also, they supervised at Pohack School the first of the year's lockdown drills, and they've been doing this for over 2 years. And so the students and teachers, though, have become proficient now, and so that everybody's comfortable with the situation. So God forbid we should have an incident. Hopefully everybody will be okay. The department participated in the Pohack PTA trunk or treat festivities that took place at Pohack School on October 27th. Did they have treats for the children?
Oh, yeah. Lots of them.
Good. Okay. And that would be the police report. I think that's it.
Great, thank you, Mary. Sal? Sal?
What are we gonna do with the Hanning property? Is that going to go into?
We're gonna, let's wait till Kevin gets here.
Okay, we know about the Santini property. I talked to Margulies, and he's going to inspect the Carpenter House behind VIP Cleaners.
You mean the Shimer?
Shimer Manor.
Shimer Manor?
Yep,
And
Shimer Manor.
Is it
I
Manor?
told him that I saw the water hit the floor joists, come out of that home. It's in horrible, horrible shape. And I could tell you right now, I would never vote for taxpayers' money to buy it or fix it up.
All right, Sal, right now, we're working on trying to save that house because of the fact that Shimer is named after Shimer. And the township, though, is not going to be buying the house. So don't worry about that. We're looking for outside to do it. So,
You'll need millions to fix that place up.
well, that's what you're quoting. But, so what I'm saying is, you're making your comments, but really, right now, we're working, trying to save that house. So, and it's not going to be.
You're
taxpayer-
working to
it's-
save it, and
and
I'm
it's-
working to destroy it.
It's a part of our history. Once it's gone, it's gone. That whole section of the township is named after it.
I think you both agree that no taxpayer money is going to be. used.
Absolutely, that's it. We're looking for.
There's
that
your
type of
common
money.
ground.
But once it's gone, and that's the thing. So right now, we're looking to try to save it.
Well, I'm not, but go ahead.
Anything else, Sal?
What about the letter on Rosemary Home? On that?
When Kevin gets here.
Okay. Carpenter property, all right. That's all I have at this moment.
All right, thank you, Sal. Couple things I want to comment on. The first is I had met with the police chief, and I was talking to Mary Van Loo about this too. In the light of the recent event that happened in Phillipsburg, was the shooting on South Main Street, kind of opened up my eyes in perspective to what our police department is prepared for or not prepared for. And, you know, upon doing a little bit of research, I found that our police department does not carry stun guns or tasers or whatever the political correct term is for them. I think only, what was it, one officer is trained
Yes, and that's with the TAC team.
with the, yeah. So speaking in the future, I think this council may want to consider having our police department trained on that because, I mean, Chief, if you want to speak to it further, it's just another tool at your disposal to
Well,
potentially.
it's less lethal. I mean, it's something where if you're ever in a situation where you can avoid a situation where you don't have to use deadly force, if you can use less lethal force, you know, that's definitely an option where you're not going to take a life. You know, there might be a point where you have to use lethal force. I mean, it's just another tool.
So I just wanted to put that out there, and you know, I asked the chief to. I mean, obviously, we have to purchase that, which is an expense, but you know, I asked him to get quotes on that, and then also to do research on what our officers need to do to be trained. So I just to put that in our minds is something to think about in the future. Second is we just had a meeting with the emergency squads in the township. There's been rumors about one squad closing, not being able to respond to calls. But as of now, there's no issue as far as response times in the township. So everything seems to be okay in respect to Bloomsbury and Phillipsburg as far as their viability in the immediate future. Couple nice things. On December 6th at 6 p.m., Chick-fil-A is going to be doing a Christmas tree lighting for the township on the up at their store there, and township residents are welcome to come. I think they're going to be distributing free hot chocolate as well as there'll be carolers there from some local churches. So that'll be December 6th at 6 o'clock that they'll be doing that. So I thought that was a nice, they had reached out to me to see if I'd be interested in going to that, and I said absolutely. I think that's a nice community event, and it just shows the type of business that they're actually still continuing to participate in the community. Today they gave out free Chick-fil-A sandwiches to all emergency responders, so I saw a lot of cars up at the I saw a few police cars up there today, so that was nice. They're in the drive-thru.
Did you get me one?
I'm not an emergency responder. And the other thing, what I like to do annually is on Halloween, I'll go around with the fire company or the police department just to see how everything goes. And it was a good time this year. There were a lot of kids. The police department was out there making sure the kids were safe. A lot of kids, I think, this year in certain parts of the town, not so much in others. But it was nice to see that Alpha had the same time as us, and there wasn't any crossover there. So I think that went very well. And it didn't seem like there was that much the night before either, as far as I saw either. So that was good.
Mayor?
Yeah.
I had asked about the Chick-fil-A because they had asked if they needed a special event application.
Yeah, and everything was okay. I checked with the police chief and the zoning officer, so everything.
But we do require it for other people. Do we just want to make a motion maybe to waive it for this event?
Yes.
What's the? But I don't know what they're using.
It's in their building.
Well, it's in their parking lot, and like we make Walmart do it when they're having yard sales.
Oh, I
Like,
see what
that's
you're
I'm
saying. I thought you were saying like they needed to use the services of.
No, it's just like you have to apply, and it's a $50 application fee anyway, and then I give it to the chief to see if he thinks there's going to be
Yeah, but
police
they're.
or anything. But we have always, like I said, if somebody's having a sidewalk sale up there or anything like that.
I mean, yeah, I sent it to Joe, and right? That was we didn't.
I didn't hear
That was the
anything
chick.
back.
I didn't see.
I'll make a motion, we waiver.
Well, why don't
Yeah, we can make
we're
them.
going to do it, we can add it to our motion.
Yeah, I mean, we can put a motion on there, but I thought that was for if they were going to be using police to like monitor traffic flow or something
Well,
like
we
that.
wanted to know of these events anyway, That was the idea.
Oh, I see what you're saying. It kind of,
You had to apply so you would know what was going on.
it's going to be outside, but it's not going to be on the actual
They
road,
did one when they did that whole big parking lot thing, when they had that,
the grand opening.
no, just in the fall, they had like the hay maze and the whole little fall
Okay.
festival, they had.
You know what? I think there was some confusion about whether or not they needed a permit to put up a Christmas tree. That's where I think we may have,
Oh,
that may have been where there was,
no, I just thought because you're gonna have members of the public and because of, being right there on 22, it's up to council. But like I said, maybe if you just do a motion to waive the requirement for this. Yeah.
okay,
But that's council's decision.
okay. All right. And then the only other thing I wanted to add was we had our first code book meeting review last night. It was lightly attended, but it was productive to say the least, and it's going to be very long and productive, I think, moving forward when we have a full house there. But it was, we started on animals, which I think Mary enjoyed very much. But A is for animal, but and B is for brush, so that's where we'll be next. All right, I will take. Does anyone have any issue with taking all these resolutions together?
No. I move that we take them. Most of them are tax certificates.
Did you guys get the resolution?
Yeah.
16
What's the dog license is going to be?
It's just our normal fees, plus then there's the $150 potentially dangerous dogs.
Can we just pause
What?
a second? With the dog licensing resolution, Kevin, our application that lays out what our fees are for spayed and neutered
Right.
dogs. But it
Yeah.
also includes in there the $5 a month late fee. So I'm questioning, do we want to put late
Yeah, we
fees
should
or
put-
are
I
we
didn't-
going to waive them?
I
In
didn't
the
mean,
resolution?
yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't mean to leave them out, but I'll just supplement that resolution if you want.
I just put like added in like
Yeah.
an amendment.
Yeah.
Like $5 a day.
I must have just, I must have just missed that on the form
Yeah.
I looked at that one you sent me, but our
If we
ordinance,
don't do it January, then in
Well,
February.
we wanted the fees that
I did at
we actually charge. And
the
that's what's in
potentially
there.
dangerous dog is in there, all our routine fees are in there, the waiver of fees for seeing eye dogs and things is in there.
Right.
I must have just missed the late fee, so when you adopt it, I will,
Well, a late fee is.
it's whatever's in your notice to people, I'll
it's
put that
the
in the
month-
resolution.
But it's the month after their license
Right.
expires.
Right, okay, I'll add that to
Because their license
to the
may
list.
expire in March.
Procedurally speaking, so in the dog license fees, it has the potentially dangerous
Yes.
dogs in there. Can we do that before an ordinance is?
You don't have to do an ordinance. Your ordinance, the way you set
Our
up your
ordinance
ordinance
says
is that.
fees
you
are
do a
established by
Time
resolution.
to time setting fees.
But
So,
can you reference something that's not created yet by an ordinance?
I
Well,
think
or-
it can be in there strictly because it's
Right.
already in the state.
It's in the state? Okay.
well, and our ordinance says all dog licensing fees are going to be set from time to time by resolution. So it
Okay.
would cover all fees. So the fact that we're now adding potentially dangerous dog is fine.
That won't,
In
okay.
fact, there's no fees in our ordinance book, and apparently we never did a resolution.
Right.
So this is really a cleanup
Yeah, we were
item.
talking about that last
Yeah, we were
night.
talking about
Remember?
that last night. That's ironic.
So
It's a topic of
I talked to Mary
conversation.
this morning about that, so now we have a resolution. I missed one item, but we'll add that.
Okay.
Another question, and this is just, because we amended our ordinance to allow people to license their dogs up and through
June
June,
3rd.
when does it become late, Mary? That's
It
my
becomes
question.
late the month after their license
That's right.
runs out. If they
Your
renew their
rating-
license in March, then April is when it's late. If they got their license in March, they need to renew it the next March. April is when it would be late.
Okay,
It's
but
not
what
so
if,
difficult.
what if people renewed in January but complained that they wanted to do it in June? Just saying.
Well, they have a problem
Because, well, they're.
because their
because
license
they're-
says January.
So we are going to go by the license, not the rabies.
That's
Okay.
Because, yeah, you
What's
can't
gonna drive
do
the late?
license unless you have the rate.
Right, so we're gonna add late fees by month. And the license is the driver. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so is there a motion for those resolutions with the amendment?
So I don't know if we got a second or not.
I'll second them.
Okay, Stryker,
Yes.
Black,
Slack.
Slack?
Van Loo, Angeli,
Yes.
Kern.
Yes. Ordinances for first reading, we have none. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 for second reading. Do you want to take the public hearing on all of them together?
May I just make another comment? Sorry, I'm very talkative. 1419, the potentially dangerous dogs.
Yes.
I never got the email from Kevin to advertise
Yeah,
it.
no, we're just doing the resolution, so we can
Can we-
withdraw that.
Withdraw that,
Just withdraw that.
because it was in my minutes, that it was introduced by Hale only, but
So let's open 15,
let's do the
15,
other
17,
three.
18, and then we'll have public hearing, then after that, we'll do a
Gotcha.
motion to withdraw the other one.
Okay. All right, so is everyone okay with taking 15, 17, and 18?
All right, I move we open up public comment for them. To amend the code of the Township of Cohasset to add a new chapter 111 entitled Commercial Security, providing funding for improvements to Middle Street and appropriating $25,000 for such purpose. And 18, which is providing funding for the improvements to the HVAC system and appropriating $30,000 for such purpose.
Do we have the loot for that?
Do we hear a second? We're opening up public comment.
Second.
Second reading.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That $30,000.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Do we
Yes.
have the money?
I circulate, I try to keep Sal, I know, I'm very cognizant of the building expenditures.
Yeah, let's do public and then Sal can. Is there any public comment on these ordinances?
Would you sign, like, what is it, what's your line? Sign in, please.
Well, ordinance 1415 is the one regarding commercial security. And we talked about that at the last council meeting, which was a long time ago. What's happened since then? I mean, you're going to vote on that tonight, but have meetings been scheduled? And
I'm sorry, I didn't mean.
have meetings been held?
No, that's what I was going to say. What happened basically was, if you recall, National Realty was here at the last meeting.
Right.
And they wanted to meet and do this and do that and propose changes. Nothing really happened. I think they got a little bit of data from the chief, but all I got really was a letter from their attorney that basically said, well, we really just don't like it, period, in a nutshell. So, but we had tabled the ordinance, and when I looked at my own work product, frankly, I try to keep my ordinances as clean and as simplified as possible, but I kind of oversimplified that one a little bit. So I did go back and recirculate a few amendments just to clarify that the responsible entity for security is a joint and several liability between the owner, a lessee, or a management company. So, we're not going to, I don't want us to have to spend a lot of time figuring out who's responsible. They can have any number of contracts between themselves as to who's going to be responsible, but bottom line is whoever's the major operator of any mall is going to be responsible. I did add some penalty provisions, so we put a little bit of teeth into it just to have a summons could be issued if they don't do it. And I also just clarified, that we were looking for both interior patrols and exterior patrols. And any patrols that are undertaken, we want to have the security vehicle and the private security officer to be clearly designated with, appropriate uniforms, badging, so on and so forth. So I think the idea would be kind of like what the Phillipsburg Mall has now. They have, You know, they have a truck that goes around with the amber light and you can clearly see it. And they have some internal security. That's kind of what this ordinance would require of everybody above 125,000 square feet of space, which would basically be, right now in this township, would be the Phillipsburg Mall, the old Walmart site, and the new Walmart site.
Okay. I appreciate all those comments. So, you know, I'm glad I asked the question because otherwise we wouldn't have heard all that. So that's good.
Yeah,
I really do appreciate that because I do believe that with a uniform presence of some sort in the stores, that's going to be a deterrent. I hope that serves as a deterrent for shoplifting so that we don't have our police having to go up there all the time. I hope it works its way out so that the incidences of shoplifting go down. 1417, I don't know what that's all about. Middle Street, improvements to Middle Street. Could council talk a little bit about that? And then I guess 1418 is just, yet again, there's something with this municipal building that we've got to throw more money at to fix, I guess. And, you know, I'll sit down, but the Middle Street one, maybe you could talk about. Thanks.
I'll talk a
Thank you.
little bit. The Middle Street, correct me if I'm wrong, that's the street we put out for bid and the bid come back way over what it was spec'd out at. The original specs were, what, 48,000 for the repair? Why? In that ballpark. It was one of the streets up in Shimer Manor. It was originally spec'd out at a $48,000 job that we hired out. We hired some of the work out. We hired Mr. Willer to do some work there. We did some of the work in-house ourselves, and the bottom line was, I think, $25,000. That was for the whole project, correct? So instead of spending $48,000 to fix it by hiring it out, we spent $25,000, you know, combined between in-house and some subcontract.
And I think 25 was on the high side. I think it was less than 25 when we added it all together.
Well, either way, we saved a pretty decent amount of money.
The road was basically impassable. We had to do it because there was, at least I know, one resident that couldn't get the garage. I could speak briefly to 1418 if you'd like, guys. I mean, because it would have been part of my attorney's report, and I apologize again. It's been nuts at my office. I'm just getting here, but this is related obviously to this building, and there's been quite a bit going on legally speaking with the building. I mean, since the last meeting, there was a mediation, a non-binding mediation. PCI had initiated suit against the township, believe it or not, claiming something in the neighborhood of $475,000 worth of alleged damages. And my office had actually filed a motion to stay the litigation to compel the mediation because that was in the contract. That's a contract requirement. So the judge did that. And we exchanged the mediation documents, but to be perfectly candid, and this is nothing, this is all stuff I can say in the public because it's not executive session, but I have found to date that I don't, the other side, and I'm not saying so much TCI perhaps or their attorney or what have you, there's no interest in exchanging information to try to get to the bottom line of some of these things. One of the major problems we're continuing to find out is that we don't have in our files here at the municipal building what was installed. I mean, it's just, and this goes back to where we changed architects ultimately, but it's something that in hindsight, you know, it probably should have been done a long time ago because things happened with this project that we are just now learning about. But we went to the mediation. It was very clear. The principal of TCI, Jim Stiles, I think, is actually very interested in trying to resolve issues. The foreman that they had here, Ben, whatever his name is, Capuccio or what have you, he's quite belligerent and has no interest in doing anything except litigating, which candidly I think our position is much stronger than theirs. So we had a mediation. I attended, Jay Parantonio, our architect, attended. We really didn't get very far because it was just a lot of posturing, you know, and with their attorney and so on and so forth. So frankly, at the end of it, mediator was willing to continue. Their attorney wanted nothing more to do with mediation. He wants to get straight to litigation, spending lots of money on discovery and things of that nature, candidly. So I suggested to Jay, I said, Jay, if you have an interest and Jim Stiles has an interest, you guys want to stay after basically and use this conference room. We're up at Eisenhower Parkway and a big law firm where the mediation was held. I said, can we, I asked the mediator, he said, yeah, you can use the conference room. So Jay stayed after for about 4 hours with Jim Stiles, actually got a bunch of different information, and then he has continued that process. We now actually have some as-built and supplemental designs for this HVAC system that we had no idea existed. We're doing balancing reports and looking at things based upon specs that have been changed, and we didn't even know that. So it's been frustrating, but the informational logjam seems to have been broken, and it's primarily occurred because, my suggestion, candidly, but I really give credit to Jay Parentoni primarily because he's very knowledgeable. He's done a great job for the township, but he has developed a relationship with the owner of TCI, Jim Stiles, and I think both Stiles and our architect, frankly, are starting to discover that both our positions need modification because, we're looking at one set of things that we think we're entitled to. Well, they changed and we didn't even know it. Jim Stiles is looking at things saying, well, we did everything right. And then Saturday, when some major fixes went on to the HVAC system, part of which is in this capital ordinance to pay for it, we invited him out and said, hey, if you think it's here, if you want to come see, let's continue the transparency. Jim Stiles came here. He went through all the repairs when our mechanical contractor from Aerology was here, and I think he was very surprised that the system is in the condition. There's things missing that should be there. There's component parts, and so his position is now moving. Hey, maybe my contractor, the people I put here, didn't do their job quite correctly. But so where we are basically overall is I really don't want to see the township spend a lot of money on my office doing a litigation if there's still the potential to solve the problems, because at the end of the day, we're trying to get the building right, number one, and number two, then see where the dust flies in terms of who owes what in terms of money. I mean, we have about, I don't know, Lorraine would tell you more precisely, but maybe 50 or 60,000 of retainage total. If you look at the contract potential, we have damage claims that we also have our own numbers. I mean, there's dust that has to be settled, but I'm trying to encourage, and I just got an email on the way here from our architect who indicated that Jim Stiles from TCI is more than ready to get on board with entering another order, which I think the Judge Purcell, who used to be the township attorney here years ago, but he's the recalled retired judge in charge of this litigation. He'd be more than happy to stay the litigation again so that we can try to spend the money where it's supposed to be spent instead of on really, frankly, attorneys. So that's where I'm hoping to get this. And, at the end of the day, where it's all going to fall out, where it's going to end up is we're going to have a properly functioning building. That I can tell you because I'm very confident between Aerology, the other company we hired, I forget their names. We have really two, and we have a right architect. We're getting a handle on things. So there's certainly issues that need to be addressed in terms of things that weren't done correctly. There's also, unfortunately, it's starting to become clear that, and I'm not going to point fingers at prior council members and stuff, but apparently there were some rather substantial changes to this HVAC system that were not the way it was designed. It wasn't really recommended by the mechanical contractor who designed it, Barry Isaac. And so there's some problems with this system that frankly are really not this council or any professional here working now, but we're really something we're going to be stuck with in terms of the cost to straighten out. But that's kind of where we are, and that's a long-winded kind of update on TCI, but we're spending money now, appropriating money because we can't really afford to go through the winter with the building like this. So this money is being allocated, and where the dust settles in terms of who owes what will hopefully resolve in the continuing mediation process.
Were you including the insulation over
the insulation, I think, is in here, Lorraine. I think in that 30,000.
Part of it was part of the proposal for Arrow.
Right. So, I mean, there's a variety of design issues and a variety of installation issues, but that we seem to be finally getting a handle on it. As well as Arcade Environmental, I will update you as well too, because that work should have been done in terms of cleaning up the room downstairs and the scrubbing and so on and so forth. We did a mold study and so on and so forth. The Township Council authorized that work to be done in May. Still not done. He had a fire or what have you, but I did speak with Mike McGinnis earlier this week. That work is going to be done, I guess, sometime between now and Christmas. So, seem to be finally getting up on top of some of this stuff. But that's what this ordinance is about, is to, we're going to have to advance these costs and see where we go.
Thank you, Kevin. Is there any other public comment on these ordinances? Is there any comments from council on these?
I move that we close public comment and adopt these 3 ordinances.
I'll second that.
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
Hey, Becker?
No, who was the first and second?
Mary was the first, I was the second.
Yeah.
Okay, Becker,
Yes.
Slack,
Yes.
Van Loo, Angeli.
Where's the 30,000 coming from?
Sal, there's a roll. You have to vote.
What's that?
You have to vote. There's a roll call.
Yes or no?
No.
Ben Kern.
Yes. Okay.
Can I ask a question? That's what I was asking Kevin. Kevin, because the commercial security ordinance is so substantially amended, does that need to be all re-advertised?
Well, this modifications are really mostly definitional. I thought about that, but
Or should I just say adopted as amended?
yes.
And we're going to note that here for the record that we are adopting an amended version, okay?
That's fine. And then I think we just need a motion to withdraw ordinance 1419 because, again, we're not doing this potential dangerous dog by ordinance.
And
we just
I
did
will
the-
move that we withdraw ordinance 1419, potentially dangerous dogs.
Which one?
It's 1419, the last one.
The dangerous dog fee, Sal, we did by
You know,
resolution.
them bullet dogs are dangerous too. Let me tell you, they're always,
Yeah, but a court has to decree that it's potentially dangerous. I've made the motion. You want to second it? Withdraw?
I'll second it.
Okay, Becker? Black?
Yes.
Van Loo?
Yes.
Angeli?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Sometimes cats could be dangerous.
Okay, there's a motion. I think this is probably for a sewer connection. That would probably be a good time to segue into the engineer's report.
Yeah, Rosemary Homa submitted a sanitary sewer allocation and a connection permit to me for her 3 properties. I had talked about it a while ago to council. I just drew a blank, I'm sorry. Oh, it was because of the Highlands, that's what it was. It turned out her properties were not in the Highlands, and everybody agreed, yeah, they should be sewered and in, and we got the Highlands people to agree to put them in the sewer service area. So she just submitted an application with a set of plans. She has 3 properties, 2 houses and a commercial property with a small office building. Typically, our fee is for $3,000, $3,000 per EDU, so it would be $9,000. Now, we have in the past granted some leniency on connection fees. There's also an application fee of $250 per property. So that would be $750. She is asking to have both of those fees reduced to $250 for application and $3,000 for the connection. I don't know that we've ever reduced an application fee previously. But in addition to that, she seemed to be under the impression that she could start construction right away. And since her and John first came in to talk to me, they have known that they have to get a permit from DEP to build this because it's considered a treatment works approval. And she had hoped that the township could waive that requirement, and I explained to her that it's not our requirement to waive. It's not like we can waive the number of parking spaces a person has. That's our ordinance. This isn't. So if the township, whatever you guys want to do about the fees is one thing, but I don't think at this time we should be giving her a connection permit, just granting her the application or the allocation.
This starts
And
the
then
process.
She
for her.
gets all the outside agency approvals
Yeah.
from DEP and from the county to construct within the right-of-way. Then we could grant her the connection permit itself. So, and then the only other item I thought about this, Kevin, after we got off the phone, was that they're going to need a maintenance agreement between those three properties, because the property that's closest to the sewer main, you'd have to go across that property to get up to work on the sewers on the other, and so I think all three have to have cross agreements between them, and I would think maybe we would want to have that done before we give them the connection permit also, because I don't think you want those properties transferred if there's the blockage down, the first place they're going to come is the council and say, fix this for us.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Does she have an attorney?
Oh, I'm sure she does.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea. I mean, if you have three properties that are going to come out for one connection, you should require them to record some joint maintenance agreement or something, cross easements, so that.
And that they are solely responsible for the responsibility, because that is going to be a private sewer lateral for those three properties. Okay. So
Get together with you on that.
So her question then is regarding the application fees, and I guess is that what the motion is later?
Yeah, I didn't know if council would want to accept that or not. So.
No. Gwen, what about this $3,000? She has to, that's $9,000 she has to pay. We have to give Phillipsburg so much money, but I don't know what it is offhand.
They would have to pay Phillipsburg. The applicant pays Phillipsburg that portion, whatever it is. I don't recall what Phillipsburg.
I don't recall either.
It's not. I don't believe it's as high as ours is.
And I think that's what we've been doing. I think Gwen's been doing that lately. I know with commercials. We'll notify them that they have to get in touch with Phillipsburg.
Yeah, that's a separate
Whatever
entity.
Phillipsburg charges Sal is a separate charge. But, I did talk to Gwen about this. I mean, I under these circumstances, I don't have a big problem with one connection fee, because that's a awfully steep number. And candidly, as I said before, I don't recall historically that we did a lot of analytical backup for the $3,000 connection fee. This is kind of a vestige of some EAI issues, if you will. So I don't have a problem with that. Gwen and I did talk about it. Obviously, we can't do anything about the DEP, and we certainly can't actually give them the actual permit to connect until they have all their approvals. So, but yeah, other than that, I don't have any problem. And we have some precedent for modifying connection fees. We've certainly done that with that.
Yeah, and then she's also asking for a reduction for the application fee, and I don't know that we've ever done that.
Yeah,
What's the difference? Is that application and allocation the same thing? It says allocation fee.
I think it's a typo.
No, it's not. It's
Oh, okay.
your sewer allocation, which you're granted. We have so much sewer we could send to Phillipsburg, and so we,
allocation, though, I think.
Get it.
It says allocation
It's supposed to
fee.
be application fee. 250, that's supposed to be application.
It's an allocation application.
Right.
Yeah.
Say that fast 5 times.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, there's actually like an administrative fee of $250 per property, I'll call it. And then the connection part of it is $3,000 per property.
Now, do we need to reword this motion then, because of the things that you were saying, Kevin? And the things that need to be kind of
Attached
like
to it.
DEP and all that stuff?
No, I
Yes,
think.
I think so.
You think?
Yeah. Make it very
Yeah, 'cause
clear.
we don't want to, I don't think we want to authorize execution of the sanitary sewer connection application.
It's to approve, not authorize, right? So we could eliminate. It's
Okay,
granting
yeah,
municipal
yeah.
approval, subject to whatever.
We'll modify
We
it
just
just
want to
deal-
take out the connection
Yeah,
part of that.
we'll modify it just to deal with the fees.
Okay, so the question is then, do we want just one allocation application fee? Or would it be 3 then that you would charge?
Yeah, it'd be.
And we
750,
have no prior precedence as far as what's been done in the past.
Not that-
It's been done for the 3,000, but never for the application.
Have we ever had, oh yeah, I guess we have if we've combined the 3,000. So, and they didn't waive the application fee.
I mean,
What's the,
theoretical justification for both would be the same, basically.
I know, that's
You
what
have-
I'm saying, if you
it's-
do it for
it's-
one,
It's
what's
one
the-
connection, but 3 lots, so
Mm-hmm.
I think if we do it, I personally think it would be consistent to go with 1 connection fee, one allocation/application fee. And as I said, that, you know, it would be a motion just to treat, basically a motion to treat blocks 39.01.
So she's not going to have 3 connections, she's going to
No.
have only one?
one?
It
it's
really is
3 properties.
Right.
3
That
properties,
go
one
into
But each
connection.
one
property
versus-
is not going to have connection, it's going to be one connection.
They're going to connect into their own private
Right,
sewer line.
yes.
And then go out.
One connection into ours.
All right, well, then we keep it the way it is.
Um,
I'd make the motion to approve it the way it is.
And, yeah,
Taking out
I'll,
the sanitary sewer
Yeah,
connection.
as
with it
discussed, yeah.
being
As,
reworded,
taking out the
I'll
connection,
second
yeah.
that.
Okay.
Okay. So who made the motion? I'm sorry.
Frank?
And the second is Mary?
Yep.
Becker?
Yes.
Slack?
Yes.
Van Loo?
Yes.
Vangelli?
Yes.
And Kern?
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Should I continue?
Yep.
my report? Okay. Do we want to talk about Phillipsburg Mall sewer issue and the fire, or are we not?
Yeah, well, just a, Ms. Ron, just a brief update. I was speaking with Gwen. Gwen called me. If you recall, there was an issue with respect to how the subdivided out parcels up in the Phillipsburg Mall were going to be billed in terms of sewer. And then initially, Gene Weber down at the Land Use Board wanted them to basically dig up and put sewer meters in. And I think that was thought to be a bit much. So,
Well, one of the buildings has one. Sonic or Starbucks is going to have one when they build it. So Panera does not have
water
one.
meters. I think initially they were talking about actually sewer meters or something originally. There was a suggestion.
Oh.
22. So it was modified such that there would be some type of a restrictive covenant in each deed that would say, look, each property is going to be separately billed. And as Glenn just pointed out, Sonic is going to have their own meter, which is going to be a Starbucks. Chick-fil-A has its own meter. Panera Bread does not. So in the other issue, Bill Edelson sent, their attorney for the mall, sent me proposed deeds today. So Glenn's looking at, this project is going to be perfected by the filing of a subdivision map. You know, there's 2 ways to perfect a subdivision, by recording deeds or by recording a subdivision plat. Well, it's going to be perfected by plat. So Glenn's looking at the plat. The plat has no note on it about the fact that each are going to be required to be separately billed and so on and so forth. They want to put that in deeds. The problem at this point is one of the properties is no longer going to be being sold immediately. That would be the Panera Bread property. And the other 2, there hasn't been a closing of title yet on those either. So my only concern is basically that when signs off on the plat gets recorded, the deeds don't get recorded for some period of time while they find new sellers or what have you, and all of a sudden this covenant doesn't make it into the record. So we had discussed whether we should require a note be added to the actual subdivision plat, because once that note's on the recorded plat, that would also run with the lots. I think, Glenn, when we last spoke, you were still kind of working your way through double checking the plat. So, you know, at the same time, I'm not trying to overburden these people, and these plats are all Mylar and everything already, right? Kind of.
Well, there's 2 sets of Mylars and like 10 or 12 paper sets.
So, I mean, it would be a little bit of work to reproduce that. So what I thought, Glenn and I agreed to, I guess, is Glenn's going to double check to see if they're all otherwise compliant. If plats or otherwise capable of being recorded, I'll try to work something out with their attorney. And one of the things I think I'm going to require to not immediately convey an error, I'm going to make them record a deed from themselves to themselves so that restriction is recorded immediately. So we'll figure out a way to do it between Glenn and I. And my understanding from Edelston is, as I said, I think Sonic will be closing pretty imminently, and so will Chippewa. Susan, I can't do it for the plats recorded.
And you just got that today? Or-
I just got the deeds today. Glenn just got the plat last week. So
End of last week.
we have not been holding up.
No, I just, okay.
Starbucks is going to happen or not?
Yeah, we're going to try to make it. As I said, that's why I'm trying not to make them add a note to the
Flexible.
plat.
Are they still interested?
Oh, yeah, my understanding.
Still happening?
Yes, my understanding from Dawson is that the closings are just waiting perfection of the subdivision, which is recording the plat. And then I guess they're going to close it before the end of the year. So that's why we'll try to make sure that happens.
Is there anything that's going to be required, though, because it seems like the major delay is on their legal counsel? I just don't want to see, I know that the burden's on them, but.
Well, I'm going to draft what I want.
So, okay.
And he could just
sign off, okay, all right, okay. Okay. So, anything else, Glenn?
No, we're just the Haney letter. We were going to wait for Kevin to get here. So he
Oh.
reported. Did you get to look at that today on the Senate?
Yeah, I did look at that. That's the.
Well, then we'll segue into the attorney's report now.
Wait a minute. The Haney letter, is that the one that relates to the preservation of the overlay and?
No, Haney is.
No, barber shop on the alley.
Oh, the vacation
Yes,
issue.
yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to check with Glenn, frankly, on that. I didn't have a chance to talk to Glenn earlier today before the meeting. Is that, is he right? Has that ever been dedicated?
Well, that I don't know about.
It doesn't really matter. See, accept it ever or not, we could just vacate it. We don't need it. Are you comfortable with that?
But I think you would need to do it by ordinance because.
Oh, you have to do it by ordinance.
Yeah, he's trying to say that you don't need to.
Oh, no,
I guess
you
because
have
he
to.
wants to try to speed it up, but I think.
Are you comfortable when we don't need it?
Yeah, that came up quite a while ago. I had looked into that. We don't have any utilities in it or anything. So it doesn't lead to anywhere.
Does it increase the value of the property so we can charge more taxes on it? I mean, if we're giving the guy something, we should.
Well, generally speaking, Frank, the answer to that is typical with the law. It depends a little bit. Generally speaking, when you vacate a public right of way, the properties on either side usually own the underlying fee. So the public right of way is actually kind of like a public easement. So when you vacate the public easement, the property lines actually go automatically out to the middle of the street. So yes, it actually, usually that'll get picked up at some point on a survey. It will get picked up in the tax bill a little bit, you know. Not a lot, but yes, it'll get picked up.
On the tax map.
And how about the?
So I think in this case, since he owns both sides, as I understood the letter, he has a piece here and a piece here, and he's before the board, and the board's questioning his access. So he's saying, hey, can you clarify my access by doing a vacation? I don't have a problem with it. We don't need it. At the end of the day, we're going to make this property unified. In his case, it might increase the value a little more because it'll keep the properties together. So, but it will get picked up, yeah.
Is there any, do we have any control over what he does with that property when it's combined?
Well, he's before the board right now, so he's getting approvals for whatever he's doing right now. So, that's my understanding.
I would think if he's going to be using that area for commercial purposes, he would need to have that site plan approval for any additional parking he's going to use on that property.
Yeah, my thought was we would notify our own, land use board that, hey, yes, we'll accommodate the vacation. You guys take that and we review the plan. That's
okay. I didn't think that. So he's in front of the board.
I thought that's what he.
Yeah, he is, and it was kind of punted to
Right.
the town as this
Yeah.
being a major stumbling block.
I don't see it. I mean, we vacated numerous papers.
Yeah, I think it happens quite common.
There's a few we have not because of potential,
Until-
drainage
yeah.
issues in the future that we might want to use. But if Glen's comfortable, we'll do is Gwen usually you can just give me a little
Yeah, these are
description
the-
narrative and we'll introduce that. So what we can do, if the council's okay, I'll direct a letter to the board saying, hey, we're going to accommodate the request. We're going to move forward with the vacation. That way, with them knowing that, they can plan accordingly in terms of the application.
Would you be able to do we have to take action to direct you to do that, or you can do that?
Well, it's got to be, as Glenn said, by statute, a vacation has to be by ordinance. So I'll have the ordinance ready for introduction on the 8th. We could adopt it on the second meeting. I think that's enough time, right, Wanda? I'm not sure. I have to double check on.
For the 2nd and the 16th.
Yeah, you do have to notify the county, and we have to get a list of property owners technically to let them know.
So they can
I
do
don't
it.
think we're going to be able to do it by the 16th, because till I advertise it.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. And so if that's the case, really, we should really have to wait till January because we can't stay moving until the start of next year because it's technically a new council, a new legislature, so to speak. So I think the easiest thing to do is just tell them we're going to do it and say, look, that's not uncommon. Say, look, we're going to adopt the ordinance, but at this point, with the time.
Can they proceed with an
They can proceed
application?
on
Okay,
that,
all right, that's fair.
I'll indicate that we don't have an objection to them treating it as if we're going to vacate.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
that's a good idea. Okay. That can move, that way
Yeah.
it doesn't stop based
Right.
on a
Yeah, I don't have
procedural
I don't
snap.
have a problem with that.
Okay. Cool. All right, you get your report now. Get
Well,
that
the thing
passed off to you.
I did see the SADC, I guess, is requesting clarification on the status of the somewhat antiquated at this point overlay resident settlements because both now the overlay and resident properties have been, applications have been made to put them into preservation. So the short answer to their question is that we're not relying upon either property at this point for any of our affordable housing obligations. We have not for some time. There was a transfer of development rights from resident to the overlay tract, and there was an approval granted pursuant to that. The approval has expired. I'm not sure if we even have the zoning in place anymore. We agreed to maintain that zoning. I don't know if we still have that age-restricted overlay or not on the property, but their basic question was, what's the status of the litigation settlements? And the answer is that all vesting rights pursuant to those have expired. So unless the council has any objection, I'll word that appropriately and let them know that. The only thing I didn't know in their letter, they asked about one property was restricted until there was access off a public road or something, and they seem to indicate that might be a non-factor anymore because some
Yeah,
public road improvements.
originally they moved the road there for Snyder's Road, wasn't there when this all was done.
Okay.
They realigned.
And now it is.
Now it is, correct.
So I'll double check that with Gwen. They just had a question, I think, in terms of value of one specific lot, Gwen, because of of an access issue, but I think there is now access.
And you'll respond?
Yeah.
With that? Okay.
Yeah, take care of that. I did see I think there was a motion on it, so I'll just address it briefly. The historic preservation restriction in the Still Valley Arch. Now, I don't have a problem with the concept, but I had two questions, and I don't know whether Frank and Glenn may be the best, but number one, the way the restriction is drafted, it just says Still Valley Arch. Now, their grant monies, I thought, were only for the wing walls. Am I wrong about that? Or see what
They reused grant money of theirs to do the underside already, and I think they have.
They did inside too?
That's
Okay.
a second.
It was a part
Yeah, I
one,
think
part
there's a
two.
part,
And there's county money for both pieces of that? Okay.
My only,
My only concern is, like maybe you've had the same thing. The only other problem I have is that it's a 30-year restriction. It says we can't take down the arch or do anything without their permission. Well, I guess my question is, well, what happens if this fix doesn't work and we have to close? I don't want to be obligated or obligate you guys to spend $500,000 to re-repair it. So I just wanted to. I think I'd like to table a motion just to kind of talk through a little bit with Gwen and maybe Corey Kearney, just to make sure we're comfortable that there's at least some language in there that says, hey, if 25 years from now, the thing is deteriorated to the point where we have to take it down, we're gonna, I don't mind notifying them, but, that's my big concern. Because, these repairs are expensive.
Yeah. And the
It says
and
we
the
can't
fact that
take
the
it.
wo- and you can't alter the appearance of it, which
Right.
I think it's boilerplate language that was
Yeah.
designed around buildings.
buildings, yeah. But I mean, the first thing we would want to do is alter the appearance by repairing all the stalling and things like that. So
So I'll work a little bit with Corey, so that was that issue.
They weren't under any special kind of time frame
No.
for this, were they?
No, in fact, this is, we've had the money for some time, so. They said it's standard
Well, I know we
procedure.
got the money.
We just want to make sure that we tighten up the agreement a little bit. I talked about TCI. How about EAI? EAI, I've heard not a word in terms of where the bank is. So leads me to believe they're nowhere. If you'd like me to follow up with the bank attorney, I can.
Not on my behalf.
Yeah, just kind of find out where they're at.
Actually, what happened with our non-binding referendum? one?
Oh, you weren't here for, no, it passed by like 17 votes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to pursue possible, I think. Okay.
Hardly a mandate.
Well, yeah, I mean, the answer is there's really nothing going on with that.
Okay, thanks.
I think that's it, Mayor, basically. Okay. Something was in the back of my head, but I can't think of it right now.
Well, I mean, we have some for executive session, but to add to motions, I did distribute this to everyone. I received several phone calls from some of our residents up in the Alpha Annex who are on the Alpha Sewer, who are going to be impacted by the Alpha Water increase as far as their cap. It used to be that they were capped at a certain amount of gallonage and they only had to pay a set amount. Alpha's changing that to drastically, pay for, really, quite frankly, what they need to pay for some improvements and for their sewer system. But our residents now have no recourse to speak or say that they don't like this. And the people who called me were a lot of seniors. It's the exact same scenario. So essentially the letter's just asking Alpha not to do it, or ease into it and set up a meeting. It's already done. I think if we just send them a motion, I'm sure they'll politely decline, but we can always try.
Mayor, actually, that's one of the things that's in the back of my head. The DPW had asked, I think this was one of those fall betweens because of the league meeting and stuff, I think we kind of missed the meeting or got one put off, but they, and I think the money's allocated, if I understand from Lorraine, but they want to go out to bid for the trackless tractor. I don't know if that's on here somewhere, but I did do all the bid specs. I have the notice. So we could add to the motion list as well, if it's the council's pleasure, motion to go out to bid on the trackless tractor.
I'll make that motion if we could add that to the list of motions.
Right, so we'll deal with it collectively, yeah.
Kevin, is the notice to publish in the paper
Yes, it is.
in there too?
I sent you one using that attorney.org website you set up for me. I
Okay.
emailed the whole set to you so that.
I saw the bid specs, but I didn't know if the
Yeah,
ad,
it's-
the notice say I need to advertise.
Yeah.
Do I advertise that whole thing, notice to bidders?
I'm sorry?
Is that what I published, the whole thing called notice to bidders?
Yes, it's the third document down. I have a table of contents and everything for you. And I also put in the notice, I wanted to make sure you were going to do it. I understand you guys can upload this to the website, right?
To bid, that whole thing?
Yeah, it's just,
Yeah, no, we could do that, yeah.
We did it with the public,
Yeah.
the RFPs for
Yeah,
professionals.
okay.
Those RFPs are different. This is an official bid. I think it has to be published in the newspaper, just not.
Well, the only reason I suggest, it does, Wanda. I'm not saying
Okay.
But my thought being, it might be a little easier for potential bidders if they wanted to
Just print it
actually
out.
print out the documents off the web.
Okay.
Okay. So, yeah, that would be added to the motion.
One more thing for a motion, Wanda, do we have to approve the junior firefighter?
I was going to say to add it.
Okay, cool. just as a, s-
Nicholas Ryan Oscar's application for membership with the Junior Firefighters, Cohasset Township Fire Department. That's another one.
okay. Does anyone have an issue taking all these motions together? In,
Schedule,
Is reorg good for everybody January 6th?
oh, what,
It's a Tuesday, it'll be the first Tuesday in January.
what if there's no change?
yeah, right? Oh, we have to re- yeah.
Yes, theoretically you do, because it's not just the council, well, you usually swear in anyway, the new.
Oh, Sal's got to get sworn in.
And you also have to redesignate all your official
That's
papers.
right.
Yeah,
Okay.
unfortunately, you have to have.
Okay, thank you.
Could that, okay, it's a regular meeting, I guess we could, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that date if everyone else is.
Me too.
Okay, so are we going to take these motions separate?
No, we're just, we're gonna
Or
pull,
take
we're
them
gonna
all
tape.
together, but with the one that, the
We're
eight,
gonna table the
Table the
table, the,
historic
Hill
preservation.
Valley.
okay.
So we just need a motion.
So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4.
And we're going to change the one about the connection.
We already did that one.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right. Thank
I
you.
forgot too, I had to think about that, but yeah. Okay, so is there a motion for these motions?
I'll make the motion for the motions.
I'll second it, the motion for the motions.
I didn't hear second.
That was me.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jim. Frank?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Clegg?
Yes.
Dan Luke?
And we're voting on which motion?
All of
4
them.
motions.
Oh, all our motions?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
And then Jelly?
Yes.
And Kern.
Yes, okay. Quick announcement, our annual rabies clinic will be held at the municipal building on Saturday, January 3rd from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock p.m. And I believe that is on the website as well as some other locations where they're also taking place. So if you can't get that day,
That's right.
other people come here,
3 other
you can go there, so.
But also,
sharing our-
you can do licenses that day too, when you get your rabies shot for your boss.
All right, general public comment. Do we have any general public comments? Yes, sir.
Question in reference to the 3 lots, I think it's at home.
Homa, yeah.
Are they presently, their existing home? Are they on a septic?
Septic system.
Septic, yeah.
Cesspool.
Cesspool.
The comment that they're not in the Highlands?
It's,
She's,
the Highlands is working with the township in preparing the wastewater management plan. I think I did word it incorrectly. And for some reason, those properties were not included in the sewer service area in the document that the Highlands put together. So I brought it up at council months ago, and they agreed. When you look at the map, everything else is in the sewer service area right there. In fact, half of one of the lots is in it, and the other half isn't. So Gene Weber, on behalf of the Land Use Board, who's working with Highlands and the wastewater management plan, contacted them, and the Highlands people agreed, yes, those appropriately should be in the sewer service area.
And to beat you to the punch, it's an excellent example of how they drew their lines.
Yeah.
It's not that they are in the Highlands.
I have a lot.
They're in the
lot.
planning area. It's a different, it's not, it's
It's a
the,
different part.
it's the it's the sewer service area of
Right.
our wastewater management plan.
I
But
have
it's
a-
the Highlands Council that's putting these things
Like
together.
that on that. No, that don't count for me. Wonderful, thank you.
It
Thank
could
you,
use the
Jerry.
same scientific theory, right?
Any other general public comments?
We did opt in.
right, that's the planning area.
Trish Becker again, 51 Creek Road. I just wanted to ask whether there has been any follow-up about the railroad, meeting with Chris Cotty, and if we could talk about that this evening, because, you know, we had a public hearing and a lot of people showed up. They had a lot of really good issues raised. One problem that I have with the railroad is that we really don't have a clear definition of the use of their property with overnight camping and people parking on River Road. So I wanted to ask if there's been any follow-up. What's the status on that?
Thank you. Thank you for reminding me about that, the update. As Dave and I were both, after we had met with Mr. Cotty after our meeting and explained the process, and after Mr. Rossi went down and explained what the process would be of getting tours of the property, we heard nothing for probably, I'd say about a month, Joe, is that fair? A month and a, so then as standard operating procedure, Mr. Rossi sent out language saying this is what you need to do, which was for the bigger issues, we felt that the best way to handle it was go to Joe Rossi. Joe Rossi would then decline what he's doing there, and he'd have to go before the land use board to seek approval for the different events going on his property. We heard nothing until the language went out that I think was a little bit more aggressive but standard, saying if you don't comply with township ordinance, this is the penalties and the fines involved. And then I think that night, what did we get, like 6 emails?
Yeah,
we got
inundated, both of us with
FedEx overnight things. And to Mr. Rossi's credit, he was able to provide me with all the correspondence dated when he responded to him. So from what I understand, we have received his position in writing, and I hope that he's going to be appearing before the planning board in January for his for a hearing on a variance relief after he comes in and sees Joe and Joe declines it. Okay,
so that addresses the activities that are going on down in Carpentersville as far as, you know, farm agritourism. And that's really stretching that term because I don't believe it's agritourism. But what about the other issues that were discussed at the public hearing and brought up?
They provided us, Trish, with track maps that have a lot of bearing on some of the property issues themselves that were fielded as complaints at that meeting with the various landowners. And I think those maps are really going to clarify who owns what and who owns where. I didn't get a chance to review them, but they were described when Mayor and I met, and I don't want to say the railroad's probably in the right on most of what they're thinking there, but the maps are pretty much, you know, the maps.
But we just got copies
Right.
of those maps
Correct.
ourselves that we could see, not that he was just pointing to. So we have to review them and cross-reference them to make sure that they are, in fact, accurate. But I think a lot's going to come out of procedurally what he is allowed to do at that hearing as far as anything, as far as where the lot lines, I think, oversee where our jurisdiction is.
Okay, and I don't want to overstay my time up here, but the one area along River Road where there's been a history of dumping, we've got the no littering signs up. There's a lot of parking there. There's overnight parking there. My understanding is that that property, we own the road, River Road, that goes through there. The property on the hill and the cliff, my understanding is that's the railroad property as well as the property that goes down to the Delaware River. So on both sides of the road there, my understanding is that's owned by the railroad. So, you know, but they're parking there overnight and camping, fishing, with fires, with boats. So I'd like to encourage the council to consider no overnight parking along that stretch as an ordinance. We could treat that, you know, I'd like you to consider that because I think it just, there could be a lot of potential for problems and lawsuits with loss of life, you know, people getting hurt and The last thing I want is another lawsuit for the township. We can't afford it. Thanks.
Thank you.
I can also add just briefly, a brief additional note. I'm fairly confident that the owner of the railroad, Keem Baranga, is getting an attorney with the idea of going to some type of a board meeting on the land use issues, because he actually contacted me to represent him. He was referred, he didn't realize that was a township. So I had done some work for the railroad a long time ago in Milford, and he was referred by another attorney or another client, so that's always nice to get referrals, but I obviously politely declined, but.
That would have been fun.
But so it seems that.
Can't wear both hats, huh?
Can't wear both hats, but I mean, I think it's encouraging that he's going to get somebody. And again, historically, we've usually had some decent cooperation with Keem Baranga on various road improvements down there. So hopefully that will continue. And, you know, it'd be good to come in. I think it would be good to come in to the land use board and get an overview and, you know, get some resolution memorializing, you know, what is going to be done there. So I think that's what we're going.
Yeah. Took us forever to get them there, but sometimes you got to be harsh in your letters. Any other public comment?
Just finish up on that. I did speak to Mr. Gotti tonight.
Oh, there we go.
And he said, well, I'm all, right now he has a Polar Express.
Yeah.
Thursday he's going to his board of
Directors or whatever. Yeah.
Let tell him know. And I said, look, you got to get in touch with Wendy. I said, make sure you do, because her husband is as a Marine, and he'll come down and drag you in front of the board. And he says Thursday, and he's going to go in front of the land use, and I told him, ask for an interpretation. That's the first thing he's going to do.
Yes.
Because I think it's an amusement. He says it's education. So we're going to ask for it.
Can you do me a favor? Just anything moving forward with him, reconvey that in writing. No, well, you CC me on it, but send it to him, just saying, this is what you need to do, so that if we get an email, you know, the night before a bench warrant goes out for someone's arrest, you know, we can be like, I mean, here we are. Okay, thank you.
Not a problem.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I have a brief follow-up on Tricia's comment. I believe the way she described it as the road, River Road belonging to the town, and then the property to either side being railroad, I wonder if that is within the right-of-way, and one can look at that and see if that property is within the right-of-way, because we do have ordinances now that prohibit the creation of parking areas within the right-of-way. And in fact, the right-of-way has to be kept clear as a transportation easement for emergency vehicles. So there should be no parking allowed in the right-of-way at all.
Do you have a general block and lot?
No, but I can,
Yeah.
we can go to the tax map and look it up.
Truck parks are.
Marker 44 is what we refer to it
Marker
as.
44, okay. If you could coordinate with Gwen on the actual, try to determine the block and lot and see if there is any.
One of the problems with that area is that our tax map, and there's been no formal dedication of River Road that I've ever been able to find. I just was talking to the county about it, actually. We have on a tax map that shows 33 feet, but if you go 33 feet, you've got the road, the railroad is in there. You know, their right-of-way mapping shows areas, and it has a public road in the middle of their right-of-way. So it's interesting overlapping rights-of-way, I guess is what it really is.
Who's right-of-way trumps in that case?
Well, here's an idea. Speaking, if the police went out there and wrote warnings or actually issued summonses, someone would have to actually get an attorney and argue that before municipal court to get it tossed, right?
So you want that attorney to do the research on our right-of-ways?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look.
I mean, it forces the issue.
It's another 50,000.
No, because they would have to research the problem.
Yeah.
No, or they would issue warnings first. People see a warning, not doing that again, or they get a ticket and they have to hire a lawyer to come to court, or they just pay it.
Unless they just pay the ticket.
It's not our problem.
I don't have an issue with the chiefs. I mean, Brett and, our prosecutor and the judge can certainly address the issues. I mean, I think we just have to show, the proofs would basically be, hey, they were parked alongside the road in the road right of way. Their defense is, well, we weren't in the road right of way, we're in the railroads. Well, that would be their burden of proof.
Yeah,
So I
burden
understand
is
your
on them.
issue. I don't have a problem if the chief issues warning notices if he sees parked cars down there, if there's some ordinance. The doctor is right, Dr. Hernandez is right. I don't recall that provision, but if it's in there, if that ordinance is in there, then we don't have to,
245?
that'd be a great,
Okay.
I mean, and the other thing too, I guess, in thought to that, and I guess we would have to do an ordinance. But it's a total municipal road, we could do that, right?
Yeah, so we could still do the ordinance, but
So, I mean, if we want to do both, the chief could issue, the police department could issue warnings now.
Do warnings now, yeah.
Site, but if the council would like, Gwen and I could throw together just a little amendment to the vehicle and traffic ordinance to put no parking signs down there.
yeah.
Where? On River Road in the area they're speaking of that. Do we want no parking signs or no overnight parking? It
Yeah.
depends what you want.
Go down there, Sal, seriously. It's not,
I drive around quite a bit.
I know you
The signage, you certainly need the ordinance for the signage, but the chief,
in the interim.
the interim, we could issue tickets just based upon right-of-way parking. But if you want an ordinance, then I don't know, Gwen and I would have to draft that. It's not a big deal ordinance.
That was good teamwork. So that was good teamwork.
Mayor, I had one other comment before we go to
Yeah.
executive session.
Yeah, go ahead.
One comment I'd like to make to everybody that's here. There's been some fresh dumping off of Still Valley Road and Edge Road both. Building debris mainly, some shrubbery and things. Anytime you see anybody riding around, it looks like they're up to no good, or you think that they're gonna, drop something somewhere, pick up the phone, call the police, turn them in, get a license plate, whatever you can do. It's a real disgusting looking thing. It's, nails and sticks and everything else. It's just sad to see people have no respect for property, but anyway, if anybody sees anything, write a license plate down, turn it in.
There's lots of places that could use that kind of help. And Alderley Road has often got tires on. Lots of different places that can use that kind of help.
Tires are easy to pick up, Frank. I know it's ugly, but I'm talking there's shingles, boards with nails. Just terrible. I even looked through today to see if I could find anything that, show where it comes from, and there's just no way to do it.
Is there any other public comment?
Let me just correct that. It's 241-50.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other public comment? See none. Do I have a motion for executive session, contractual and litigation?
I know we do that.
About a half hour.
Do we expect to do anything coming up?
I don't know.
I move.
Second.
Okay, Becker?
Yeah.
Slack?
Yes.
Vanhu?
Yes.
Angeli?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you sign this?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Do you want me to date it today? Attendance.
I knew,
Little things add up to.
trying to stop spending money because you guys got such a big deficit. Trying to keep.
No, I mean, and there's probably things we'll find.
Right.
But it's not, we're not going to find 900.
Going around to tape recording
Good.
style.
Okay, are we returning to regular?
Do we need a motion?
Yes.
Please.
All right, so moved.
Second.
For a second,
Yes.
and all in favor?
Aye.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. This was like my first council meeting.
Used to. Oh, excuse me. All the time, they still wrap
The way,
this here.
Like a
Yes.
1,000 acres. Nothing.